Hey guys, what's up? It's Sarah. I hope you're doing well. It won't let me turn our voiceover off. I don't know. Some new thing with iOS 16. I don't know how to video without voiceover, so I muted the speech, so hopefully that will help some. I'm going to take this off and unplug this cord. Anyways, I thought that I would make a video about a little bit about the hospital experience that I had. I haven't really talked about it. I tried to, and it didn't record the video, and then I just got mad, and it's taken some time to process. I'm watching the coverage of Hurricane Ian. Hold on. Alexa, turn off my living room TV. I am watching the coverage of Hurricane Ian, which could be like the hurricane of the century. So I've been very interested in that from an interested perspective and from a hotel reservationist perspective. Alexa, stop! Sorry, my Alexas keep going. Just keeps talking. Anyway, so I've been watching that. But what happened was couple weeks ago, it was a Thursday, and I went to pulmonary rehab, and they weighed me, and I was 222, and I was having a ton of trouble breathing, and I was coughing, and I like literally could not breathe. So seeing two of the people that were in the pulmonary rehab talked me into going to the ER. So I called my mom, and I said, I'm gonna go to the ER, I'm sorry, you know. And she said she was going to come. And I said, no, you don't need to come. You don't need to come. Because she always does this. She comes and it's something stupid. But this time it wasn't. So I'm glad she did. So I remember going down there. I remember them saying, they put me in a wheelchair. So somebody else was walking Salcha. Because Salcha has this thing with wheelchairs and he's scared to death and he won't go near it. So I can't walk him. He just freaks out. So I remember getting there, and I remember them saying, this is her guide dog, Salcha, and he needs to stay with her. And I remember saying goodbye, and then and I remember them poking me with the IV. And the next thing I remember was talking all funny, and my mom in the ER, and I had no idea where Salcha was. Apparently he was in the room, but I didn't know. I don't know when I realized where Salcha was or when I was conscious of the fact that Salcha was there. I think I remember at one point asking where Salcha was. And they said, he's right here, he's in the room, we're taking care of him, whatever my family did. And so I started talking all funny, like, I love you. And if any of you have seen my TikTok, it was kind of like that, but it was like 10 times worse than that TikTok was. And they did a bunch of stuff and like CAT scans and different stuff, and then they admitted me, and they said I was really swollen and I needed Lasix to unswell. And it was weird because my hands had been starting to hurt, but I thought it was like arthritis, and I was getting arthritis, and I was really nervous. But like a couple days before I went to the hospital, like that Friday before, my dad said, why is your face all puffy? And I said, what? Because I didn't know what he's talking about. And I said, oh, that's how it is when I wake up. And he goes, oh, okay. Because I didn't know what he's talking about. And I thought, well, I must just wake up that way. I don't know what he's talking about. Anyway, so I was swollen like all up here in my face and all in my arms down here in my arms, and my legs down here was all swollen and stuff like that. And so they gave me that, and they did some other stuff. I don't remember everything they did in the hospital, but I stayed there for like 2 days. Thursday night, Friday all day, and then Saturday half day. So it equals out to like 2 days. And then everybody was super nice, and I don't remember when I started talking normal. All of a sudden, there was this point, my family does, but all of a sudden there was this point, and my brain just went, oh, okay, I'm normal again. And, like, I don't know, my brain, I remember asking a bunch of stuff. Like, I remember yelling that I had to go to work tomorrow, and I remember yelling at my family for crying, and I remember my dad was praying, and in the middle of the prayer, I started yelling, don't cry, because he was crying, and I didn't want him to cry, so I started yelling, don't cry, in the middle of the prayer, and my mom's like, you don't do that, and I'm like, my brain was halfway there, but I didn't. Sorry, it made a beeping noise, and I wanted to see what it was. So, I didn't want my family to cry because it upset me. And so I started yelling, like, don't cry. And then I remember at one point I started yelling, like, I need help, but they're not helping me. But it was very broken. It wasn't like that. It was very, very broken. And my mom was mad because when they came in, they said, oh, she doesn't talk like that. And my mom said, no, she talks like us. And they said, oh, I thought since she was blind that that's how she talked. And my mom's like, well, no, blind people don't normally talk like that. And she's like, oh, I just assumed. She's like, I didn't know. I thought that they talked like that because they were blind. And my mom's like, no, she's never talked like that. She talks like us. And my mom was super mad at the nurse because they thought that was how I talked. And my mom's like, she lives by herself. She's independent. She this and that. And so my mom was mad because the nurses were acting like this was normal and that's just how I talked. And that because I was blind, like they were basically saying nothing was wrong with me because they thought that's how I talked. And so my mom got really mad. I don't remember any of that, but my mom does. And so basically what happened was I had a TIA, and then I was super swollen, and so they gave me the Lasix, and then I started talking weird a couple days after I got out of the hospital, so I went back to the ER, and they determined that nothing was wrong with me, and they wanted me to see a neurologist, and I stuttered a lot. And I had to think a lot about what I wanted to say. It was really weird. But we were on the way home, and my family was asking me about the new anti-inflammatory they had put me on. And they looked it up. And I had looked it up, but I looked at the main side effects, and I looked at the drugs that were contraindicated so that I knew, like, to make sure I wasn't on any. But they looked it up, and they said it can cause, like, swollenness and speech problems and brain fog and all this crazy stuff, which is what I had before. And so what we think happened is the medicine exacerbated something that was already going on, and then that made me have a TIA because it took something that was already happening and made it worse. So anyway, they advised me to go on a low sodium diet, so I've been doing that. Sometimes it's kind of hard, but I feel glad because they haven't taken everything away from me. I can still eat chicken, hamburgers, tacos. I found really good. You guys need to try Mrs. Dash taco seasoning. It's amazing. Anyway, and I think I'm going to start replacing, I can't go to Jimmy John's anymore, so I think I'm going to start replacing Jimmy John's with Taco Tuesday. Anyways, so I have to cook a lot more, which kind of sucks because I'm lazy, but it works out. And then I finally got my CPAP, and I couldn't breathe. They gave me this full face mask thing, and it was like awful, awful. And I didn't know what to do. I was up for 3 days, super tired, and they said that I need to try a different mask. So I tried a little one that went over my nose, and that worked out pretty good. And I can show you my CPAP. Ow! Sorry, running into the table. I can show you my CPAP. Go in here. Hi, Salty Boy! I just have him resting in the kennel. He's been out all day and went to rehab with me and stuff. This is the little mask. It goes like this over your nose. And this is the machine. It's kind of big, sort of. But that's my phone charger and my watch. It weighs about 5 pounds. There's the knob to turn on and off, but they have it on auto, so it'll automatically turn on and off. And then it has a humidifier. So like if I pull this out, maybe. Okay, if I pull this out and then I open the lid, open the lid. There we go. I can fill this with water and I can breathe moist, humidified air, which is nice because my mouth gets really dry. And so that helps a lot. I've noticed when I'm wearing it, hold on, I gotta get this back in. I always have trouble with this part. I have to get this back in, hold on. There we go. Maybe not. Yep, there it went in. No, it didn't. There we go. Okay, it went in. So I've noticed that when what was I gonna say? I forgot now. When one of my friends is going to get his tonight, so that's kind of odd. But anyway, I was gonna say something about the machine. I don't know. Oh, so I can breathe like moist, humidified air. So normally when I wake up, my mouth is dry and my throat hurts. And when I'm wearing the CPAP, when I wake up, my throat doesn't hurt and my mouth isn't dry. And then I don't know about the headaches. I still have them. They haven't been as bad lately, but I still do have them. But yeah, so that was kind of about my trip to the hospital. I was going to show you all my diet food and stuff, but I never got around to doing all that. So I just bought a bunch of different stuff and been working on my diet, and my sister helped me buy a bunch of stuff, and I've talked to 2 dietitians. And yeah, so that's basically what happened with my journey to the hospital. Salcha was a freaking trooper. That dog is one smart dog, one smart puppy. So when we first got there, you could tell he was freaking out. Like, they said he was just pacing back and forth by me. He knew something was wrong. And then that night, he kept trying to come over to see me, and I started petting him, and he tried to jump on the hospital bed. And my dad pulled him off and yelled at him, and I was mad because I wanted him to see me. And my dad's like, he can't be on the hospital bed. And we were all like, who cares? And so he would, like, want to come see me every once in a while so I could pet him. But he would, like, get really excited when I came in the room and, like, stamp around and, like, jump up and down and, like, freak out and go psycho crazy. And then when I was in the emergency room part, I guess they took him outside and they came in and Salcha was pulling them. And he pulled them right to my room. He knew where I was, even though he'd only been in there once. He knew where I was. Somehow. He remembered the room and he knew where I was. So he pulled them to me. And then we went to the admitting room, which he had only been up to once. And he hadn't been up there from the door, but he'd only been once. And when they got off the elevator, my sister and my mom said they didn't know where to go. And Salcha turned and started pulling them. And so my mom decided that she was going to see what happened and let him lead. And my sister said there's no way he's going to find the room. They're not that smart. Like, they're really smart, but there's no way. Not like that. And they didn't know which way to go, so they followed Salcha, and he led them right to my room. And they opened the door, and he just flipped out. And then he stayed the night at my parents' for a couple nights. And then I came and watched the Husker game. And then I think the second time I went to the ER, I think I left him at home. But I'd watched the Husker game with him, and then we came back home and whatever. But he was so smart, you guys. Like, it was just crazy insane. And he knew something was wrong, and he was so smart. He just knew that something was going on, and he knew how to get back to me. And he kept wanting me, and he was very intent on where am I, and what am I doing, and am I okay? Like, I wish I could have filmed. I couldn't film anything. I was so messed up. But I wish I could have filmed how excited he was. I mean, he would just flip out. It was insane. He would stomp all over and run around and jump. And sorry, that's my cat. he would stomp and run around and jump and all kinds of, I mean, he'd just flip out. And then he'd run over to try to get me to pet him. And then I would pet him and he would lick me. And then one time he tried to jump in the bed, but every other time he just came by me so I could pet him. And he like walked back and forth so I could pet him. But he was a trooper. He stayed there all night till I got admitted, until my family left. And then they brought him here to get his stuff and then took him to their house. And then they brought him over the next day to the hospital. And he stayed pretty much all day and all night until they left. And then the next day, my dad didn't bring him with him, but I was checking out. So then I checked out and we went home to my parents' house and he was there. So he was super smart and definitely a trooper and unbelievable. So yeah, that's kind of how Salter was and my trip from the hospital. If I think of anything, I'll let you know, but that's the short version of everything, and it was just crazy. Super scary, probably one of the scariest things I've ever been through in my entire life. It was terrifying. My family was really scared too, but I was like terrified. I could tell something wasn't normal. And it was like I couldn't move my body, and it felt like my brain and my body were disconnected from each other like a telephone. And it was like my brain, the telephone, was telling my body what to do, but it was like there was a disconnection, like when a telephone's disconnected or like blurry. And like my brain would get so mad and I could hear my voice yelling at myself inside my head, like because I wouldn't do it. And the brain would say, just do this. And my body couldn't do it. It felt disconnected. Like it felt like my brain was telling the body something and the body wasn't getting it. It was super scary. It was the craziest thing ever. But anyway, so that's what happened at the hospital, and I hope that you guys have a blessed rest of your week, and I will talk to you guys again soon. Bye, Dibs.